My name is Dennis Harabin, and you may have heard me in the past to speak extensively about how we help people to retain more of what they earn so that they can pursue their passions. So the question is, and this is going to be a little more interactive than just a slideshow, what does it mean? Whoops, I'm not sharing screen. Hold on a second. There we go. So the question is, what does it mean to retain more of what you earn? Does anybody kind of want to give a stab at what they feel that means?
Yeah, less expenses, less taxes. Keep what you make.
Very good. Very much so. But basically, I think a lot of people are focused more on the actual net. And when we talk about retaining more, it's retaining more after basic expenses so that you can spend it however you want. It's not about putting together a big savings account in your savings account, because again, with what you make, maybe you can or maybe you can. But what it really is retaining more of after just those core basic expenses. So I'm going to do a kind of a little demonstration here about how we do that. It's a little, and see if this helps clarify it and make a little more sense about how it's done, and how if you don't have a plan, you're never going to be able to do this. Then it really does require a plan. So yay, I got paid. I got $1. So what every kid asks, each one of my stepsons and everyone else, who's this FICA guy, right? So they they make their money, they've got the money counted, the paycheck comes in, and they're like, who the heck is this FICA guy, and why is he taking my money? So when you're looking at it, a person who works on a W-2, you have your payroll taxes, your federal and your state taxes, and then you get what you net. Everyone's aware of this. And again, these are fictional rounded numbers to kind of work through, but everyone kind of is aware of this from the day you start working. But it doesn't really always have to be this way. And you can see where you get down to your net, and the difference between net and retain is big. So if both sides of you, and I'm sorry, Sean, make sure you flag me on 10 minutes and give me the 1 minute warning if you would, sir. So as you're going through, both sides, you pay both sides of the taxes if you're on Schedule C. And most of the people we work with are small business owners. They own their own business, so they have to pay their self-employment taxes. So when they're done, they're only getting 53 cents on a dollar that they're netting on the same dollar that they made. The difference is, let's assume now that the person's a renter, just for simplicity, we'll take that. So basically, the W-2 person retains, literally after 35 cents in expenses, they've retained 25 cents. Yeah, so the basic dollar, they really don't have any deductions. They don't have any pieces to go through. So in net, they're really only retaining 25 cents to spend how they want to spend. The 35 cents they had to spend. They didn't have a choice. It was insurance and debt and other things. So when we come back and now we look at the Schedule C, they get to deduct some of these funds. They get to deduct some of this money. And what a deduction's great, but it's not quite a tax credit. And you'll see how that works. But so with the Schedule C, they're able to retain, even though they made the same dollar, even though they paid more in payroll taxes, they're actually retaining more dollars because they're allowed to deduct some of those expenses. Well, let's kick it up to the next level. The power of tax credits. So if you look at a person with a Schedule C and they have someone out there planning for them and helping them, and they obtain the tax credits, you can see where that federal tax payments is zero. They're letting the tax credits actually make those payments on their behalf. They're still paying their 30 cents in deductions. They still have 5 cents that's undeductible in those expenses. They still paid the government their state tax, but began the deductions to reduce their total tax, and their net has jumped up to 49 cents. And they moved on, and they've moved up to 49 cents. Now, the beauty of it all, the real powerful thing that everyone has seen politically, we could talk about whether they're good or not, or whether they're going to crush us or not down the road. But everyone has seen these were actually refundable tax credits. These rebates that people got, the payments that were from the government, were actually refundable tax credits. So how that works is, again, the same person, you get your tax credits, but you get to take those credits up to the maximum of what was spent or what was allowed. So not only are they getting that, not paying a dime in federal taxes, but the government's actually paying them back. So they're sitting on 61 cents on a dollar. And this is what we do day in and day out for everyone that we work with. We help them to learn how to retain more of what they earn. Now, what you do with that 61 cents is up to you. I mean, this is things that you can actually spend on things you actually want, not things that are just basic living expenses for what you need. So, and that's where a lot of people, and it's scarily, less than 50% of Americans even pay a dime in federal income tax. Most of them are receiving refundable tax credits and are actually getting money, not paying a dime in actual taxes. So if you are one of those people paying taxes, you do have a big business, the burden that you've had before this whole disaster has been astronomical. It's only going to get worse, and it's going to get a lot worse. So if you don't have a plan as to how to do it, now remember, if the person on the W-2 who they're stuck with that 25 cents, like that's it. There's nowhere to go from there. They got to make, so if you're, have a W-2, you're going through, and at the end of the month, you're like, I don't have any money. It's like, you're not alone. I mean, it's because you didn't have a plan. And if it doesn't work without a plan, it's basically, you don't get the chance that what your net is basically what you're retaining, and you don't get to retain if not retaining more. You can be as creative as you want with that net, but it's still only a quarter. So again, I wanted to make sure that when people hear retain more of what you earn, it's not just about skimping and saving and how you spend that quarter. It's about making that quarter 61 cents. So now you can, and then reusing, and then to really take it to the next level, that's really when you retain more of what you earn on those basic expenses. That's just one lever that we have and that we work with when we're working with someone on their overall financial plan. Taxes is one small piece included with debt and insurance. So if you retain, by retaining more, you get to do more. As Yogi Berra says, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. If you don't have a plan to retain more of what you own, you're not gonna. And if you're not being able to do that, you have to go through. So real quick, because it looks like I have a little bit of time, as far as going through, the liquidity is what matters. That's that 25 cents. That's what you have to pay what you need to pay. And then you have your physical assets, your home, all those things that you have to buy. And then you have your tax, insurance, and debt, which help go in through that. Then you get into your retirement savings, and then you get into your growth money. The key with the liquidity is making sure that you have that quarter can do more things than just one thing. And if you have a plan, and if you use it properly, and if you use insurance and debt properly, you can make that quarter into 61 cents. You can do more things with it. And that's really where the term leverage comes in. And that's how using those taxes, insurance together versus having them fight each other, they become a source plan, and you're kind of using the same dollars over and over again, which allows you to go further and further. So I know I say it all the time, retain more of what you earn, but that's the general premise, and that's how we're able to do it. It's not magic, it's math. I always tell everyone, never we're going to do anything. This isn't magic, this is math. The law may change, but this is the law today, and we're going to work the math based on the law today. And that's what we do. So with that, I'll stop. Does anyone have any questions?
Dennis, I have a question. Can you define basic expenses? Like, how deep does that go?
Well, again, the basic expenses, it depends on what, with everything, whenever anyone asks, it depends on your exact situation. But a lot of the times, some of your basic expenses, auto, cars, if you own your own business, some of those, the line between, are they a business expense or are they a personal expense? You always have your personal expenses that you have to have, but with Schedule C, some of those expenses that you need to have. So when we're talking about basic, we're talking about the cost to, food, shelter, Maslow's hierarchy, some of those basic tools, basic pieces of, food, shelter, and in the modern world, debt and insurance. You have to have your cable bills, you have to have your utilities, you have to have certain things. We're right at that core level. We're not talking Maseratis, anything fancy. We're talking just their core getting by expenses. As a business owner, some of those are needed to do your business. So when you're doing some of those as your business, some of those become deductible, some of them aren't. And then there's distinct rules around it. But this is not something that entering numbers in TurboTax is going to do for you. It doesn't matter entering it in the and having an accountant that works with you after the fact, when you bring in the numbers that you've already spent the money, isn't going to do it for you. You need to have a plan and address it in advance. And that's how you get it there.
Okay, thank you.
Make sense?
I got a question, Dennis.
Yes, sir.
So when I normally think or hear about tax credits, I'm thinking, oh, in order to get that credit, I still need to spend a lot of extra money, right? So a thing that comes to mind is solar roofing. Sure, I can get a tax credit on it, but I'm still spending a whole lot of extra money.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that drives me insane is when I hear people, but it's deductible. So I bought something, I bought this Hummer. Why? Well, it's deductible, but you didn't need it and you spent it and you did save money.
And you can't afford it.
Exactly. So a lot of that, and that's where, again, the plan comes in. And when I focus on the math, does the math make sense? And it's really understanding the credit for you. There is a list of credits a mile long, but no one can qualify for all of them. But you may qualify for some of them. And if these credits are and a lot of these credits are designed to grow small businesses. So when you use it and leverage it, and if you use it and leverage it at the right time, like we may say, hey, you don't want to leverage this credit in when your situation, I won't put George in the spot, but we have something with George we're working on. We don't want to do this in 2021. We want to do this in 2022. I mean, even from teams, you can see you're always looking 2 to 3 years ahead. You need to plan ahead and know where things will be, where things will go. And with that, I'm getting my hand raised. That looks like I'm out of time.